Trump is clashing with the media again, this time revoking press credentials from the Washington Post. Trump accused the Post of covering him inaccurately, calling the paper phony and dishonest.
Homegrown's next. The homegrown's built. You got to build about 5 more places.
We also have homegrown criminals. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country, but you'll have to be looking at the laws on that.
Today, just today, 700 active duty Marines arrived on the ground in Los Angeles. Those 700 active duty troops joined 4,000 National Guard members that President Trump ordered into the city of Los Angeles against the wishes of both the mayor of Los Angeles and the governor of California. And as my mother would say and says often, none of this is on the level.
Imagine if I had done any of this. Let me just, I just want to be clear about this. Imagine that. Imagine if I had pulled Fox News' credentials from the White House press corps. You're laughing, but no, this is what's happening.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here. And a couple of months ago, Barack Obama stepped back into the spotlight recently with a rare speech that got to the core of the issue. He didn't rant. He didn't attack. He laid out a chilling reality and asked a gut-wrenching question that every American should be thinking about right now.
It's unimaginable that the same parties that are silent now would have tolerated behavior like that from me or a whole bunch of my predecessors.
Now think about it. Imagine President Obama pulling press credentials from media outlets that criticize him and having a blonde BS Barbie dishing out lies to cover it up. Imagine him blacklisting law firms that dared to represent people opposing his policies, or launching economic retaliation against Americans for protesting legislation, or going after college students for speaking out. You can't, right? Because it never happened. Because if it had, the country would have exploded. Fox News would have gone nuclear. There'd be hearings, special counsels, impeachment countdown clocks. Talk about a two-tiered system of justice. This is the MAGA do as I say, not as I do mentality on full display. But Trump has done all of that. And now, crickets, silence, or worse, cheerleading.
I say this not on a partisan basis. This has to do with something more precious, which is, who are we as a country and what values do we stand for?
This isn't a left versus right issue anymore. This is a common sense versus psychopath movement in American history. And Obama knew that. That's why he said it wasn't about politics. It was about who we are as a country and what we're willing to accept. Because if we've reached a point where this kind of behavior is just business as usual, then we've already lost more than just our moral compass.
Easy during most of our lifetimes to say you are progressive, or say you are for social justice, or say you're for free speech, and not have to pay a price for it. And now we're at one of those moments where, you know what, it's not enough just to say you're for something. You may actually have to do something and possibly sacrifice a little bit.
He held up the mirror and let the image speak for itself. And it looked a hell of a lot like a country sleepwalking into autocracy. Not because the strong man took power, but because too many people gave it to him willingly. After Obama dropped that quiet thunderbolt of truth, the commentary started rolling in from all corners of the media universe. And yeah, most of it was exactly what you'd expect. Newsmax fired up its usual disinformation blender. Steve Bannon went full tinfoil with some rant about Civil War and deep state operatives. Blaze TV probably muttered something about Obama being part of a globalist lizard cabal, because of course he did. And the MAGA faithful, they dismissed the entire speech like it was another COVID outbreak. What we need now is vision from our leaders, direction, a plan, a reason to believe this country can still work. And that's the uncomfortable truth Democrats are now facing. The party has spent so much time being against Trump, they forgot how to tell people what they're for. It's like everyone has been running defense on democracy without building any offense. And while everyone is holding hearings and issuing statements, the other side is out there holding rallies, writing blueprints, and training cult members to storm the system with flags and zip ties. Van basically said what a lot of folks have been thinking but haven't dared to say on cable news. If the only thing Democrats are offering is, well, at least we're not Trump, then we're going to lose the country by default because the other side is selling something, even if it is a lie. They're selling vengeance. They're selling belonging. They're selling certainty, even if it's delusional. And people are buying it because fear is easier to sell than good social policies. Meanwhile, progressives are proposing real change, student debt relief, housing assistance, infrastructure, health care. But they're being drowned out by a media ecosystem that treats tantrums like ratings gold and treats actual governance like homework nobody wants to do. So Van was right to call it out. He wasn't criticizing Democrats to be petty. He was begging them to lead, to inspire, to fight for something more than just not being a fascist. Because right now we're in a battle between rage and reason is getting its ass kicked by louder, dumber people with better merch. We need to stop showing up to sword fights carrying a pillow. And here's the bottom line, exactly as Obama laid it out. It's unimaginable that the same parties that are silent now would have tolerated behavior like that from me or from a whole bunch of my predecessors. And he's right. Think about it. How many presidents are we talking about here? Reagan wouldn't have done this. Bush Sr. wouldn't. Clinton, nope. W, no. Even Nixon, as corrupt as he was, still resigned before setting the damn country on fire. Hell, the founding fathers are probably rolling over in their graves right now, choking on the idea that the Constitution is being twisted into a weapon by a 2-bit casino clown who thinks dictator on day one is a punchline. And yet here we are. Donald Trump is the worst president in American history, the most corrupt, the most dangerous, a man who aligned himself with Russia, sold us out to billionaires, and tried to dismantle everything from public education to Social Security, just so he and his rich buddies could line their own damn pockets. And for what? Because some people couldn't stand seeing a black man in a tan suit. Because they couldn't handle a highly educated first lady who spoke 5 times better than their favorite cable news hosts. Barack and Michelle Obama represented the best of what this country could be, a functional, intelligent, dignified first family. And for what? That they were demonized, vilified. While this mob family of frauds, grifters, tax cheats, sexual predators, and wannabe authoritarians gets paraded around like royalty. It's pathetic. But that's the sickness. That's the rot. That's why Donald Trump says proudly, I love the undereducated, because ignorance is his power base. And if he has his way, we'll all stay that way. So go back to Obama's question, because it still echoes. What would have happened if he had done any of this? If he had sent troops into liberal cities to attack protesters? If he had threatened journalists? If he had tried to overturn an election? If he had stolen classified documents, lied about it, and then asked foreign enemies for help? What would have actually happened? The truth is, we all know, because this country was built on the idea that power only becomes a problem when it's held by the wrong kind of people. And in their eyes, Barack Obama was the wrong kind. Kamala Harris is the wrong kind. You and I, probably the wrong kind. That's why this moment matters, because we're not just fighting Trump. We're fighting the idea that power belongs only to those who look and act like him. This isn't just about Obama. This is about all of us. And if we don't push back now, we'll be asking a different question one day. Like, why didn't I speak up when they decided to destroy our democracy? So while we're thinking about what would they have done if Obama did this, we should be focusing on what we're going to do to save our republic from this scourge, which is Donald Trump. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.